everyone! By the time this video goes live, we will have gone past April the 1st, which is the day that I can officially stop shielding and that life is supposed to start taking little baby steps towards going back to normal for me. So you might expect me to be feeling like freedom! But actually it feels pretty different this time around. This time last year, I was a couple of weeks into my first 12-week period of shielding and I was already struggling. For a start, originally when I was first shielding, I had the letter from the government that told me I wasn't even allowed to leave my garden. So I was literally getting my only exercise by walking around the back garden like some kind of prison yard. And I was feeling really cooped in. After about 6 weeks, I was like, do you know what? I live in a fairly rural area. There's not many people about. I'm just gonna go out for a walk with the dog every day. And my mental health went back up when that happened. But this time last year, when I was only a couple of weeks in, I was already really struggling. And not just because I was massively bored, because I couldn't go anywhere or see anyone, although I really was massively bored, but because I was really missing people. And because of the way my brain works, I felt as though I was really missing people and they were absolutely fine without me. I really needed to be told that I was missed, and when people, obviously, quite rightly, had their own lives to lead and were not just, worried about telling me, God, I miss you, I can't wait to see you, I struggled a lot. Look, mentally this time last year I was in a bad place for many reasons. Fast forward to the present day and I've had a whole year to come to terms with my own horrendous levels of neediness, and I've also realised that humans are pretty adaptable. Once we're in a situation and we know, okay, this is just how things are, we will generally adapt to it quite quickly. So whereas last summer, when shielding first ended for me, I was overcome with emotion and I made it into this big thing, this time around I'm aware that I'm just going from one way of living to another way of living that's a little bit more normal. And I've realised I should probably stop trying to see everything through some big dramatic lens. Which is, of course, really difficult because being dramatic is kind of my thing! But as well as the fact that I'm genuinely trying to not be so melodramatic and get emotional about regaining my freedom or having some great big emotive reunion with people, I'm also just kind of mildly cynical these days. I'm not sure I fully believe that April the 1st will be the end of shielding full stop, however much I want it to be. Yes, the vaccination rollout is going really well. I've had my first jab and a month from today, as I'm filming, I will get my second one, and I realise that that will mean a lot more freedom because I will be a lot more protected. But I'm also aware of how many people have not had their vaccination yet, and I also just don't trust our government to really have a handle on this situation. When I came out of shielding last summer, I really thought, never want to have to do that again. I didn't expect that just a few weeks later we would be back in another lockdown and that eventually I would be back to shielding. Yay! But who's to say we're not doing the exact same thing again and trying to open everything too quickly and get back to normal in a big mad rush, only to find that COVID develops a vaccine-resistant strain and later this year we'll all be back in lockdown and I'll be shielding for another 12 weeks. How many more lockdowns are we actually going to have? It's been 84 years! And it's not just the government that I don't trust. This whole thing has made me really distrustful of people, and I don't like that about myself, but it's true. I have seen way too many people who, right from last March when lockdown first started, have just decided the rules don't apply to them and have had friends and family round to their houses inside when we're all supposed to be not doing that, very much not doing that. And they've just carried on living life as normal. There have been people who've point blank refused to wear masks in shops to protect other people. And of course, there are people who, when I do now venture on my only trips out of the house, on my walks every day, who just don't believe in making space for you and try to pass you on really narrow paths like this, forcing me to leg it across the road, or on some occasions, literally jump into a bush. And you'd think, well, it's okay because the vaccine rollout is happening and everything's going to be safe soon. But actually, that has caused its own problems. A friend of mine mentioned recently on Twitter that she was in a supermarket and an elderly man just leaned right over her while she was trying to do her shopping, breathing in her face. So she said to him, "Excuse me, would you mind stepping back 2 meters?" And he replied, "I don't have to, I've had both my jabs." She had to tell him, "I've had neither of mine and you can still pass something on to me, back the hell up." Basically, I've said before on this channel, so I'm not going to go on to a huge rant now, that I'm not going to be able to forget the levels of selfishness I've seen from some people during this pandemic, and it's true. I'm not going to want to be in a rush to go into a pub or a restaurant or even a shop full of these people, not knowing how many of them have just been breaking the rules because they think they're somehow exempt. Because let's face it, even when I've had my second jab in a month's time, I'm still going to be being really, really careful because I know I could still pass it on to someone who hasn't had either of their vaccinations and they could become seriously ill. I don't want to do that to somebody because I'm not a selfish Burke. And yes, there is a part of me that I think is probably genuinely scared that there will become a vaccine-resistant strain and that actually I could end up getting it and being really ill even though I've had both my jabs. So yeah, I'm going to be a bit distrustful of people. Everyone is disgusting. Stay away from me. You are all walking, talking, petri dishes full of germs. Ah! This whole thing has also made me kind of judgy, which I don't like, but you know, facts. Well, they're not 2 meters apart, and I've noticed they're not going to give way to those people walking towards them. What is wrong with everyone? So although I'm glad that by the time this video goes live, I will be free of shielding and able to go out and meet people outside, and if I want to, go into a shop, I am also looking at things with a huge healthy dose of caution because you just don't know what's going to happen next in this kind of situation, and I have been burnt by my optimism before. How are you feeling? What's the situation where you are? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. You can click on my floaty head if you'd like to subscribe. Last week's video is over there. Please, for the love of all I hold dear, keep wearing your mask and keep being sensible, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye!